Asterisk respect isn't earned over months, it's decided in the first 5 seconds. When you walk into a room, when you speak up, when you stay silent, people are watching. They're asking themselves one question: do I take you seriously or not? And the wild part, you're giving them the answer without even realizing it. Pause, look directly at them. Today, I'm going to teach you how to pass that test. Every single time, let that hang in the air. You ever walk into a room and feel like people already made up their minds about you before you even opened your mouth? That's not in your head, that's real. We all like to think we get a fair shot, that people will listen to what we say, take time to get to know us, see our value. But life doesn't wait around for a fair shot. People start forming impressions the moment they see you, and whether we like it or not, you're already taking the respect test. And you've got about 5 seconds to pass it. Now, that might sound intense, but it's not meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. Because here's the truth, the way you carry yourself in the first 5 seconds tells people everything they think they need to know. They're scanning, they're noticing, and they're deciding, do I take this person seriously? That decision doesn't get made halfway through your story. It gets made before you even start talking. That's the power of presence, that's the energy you bring without saying a single word. And it's not about being perfect, it's not about walking in with a fancy suit or a loud voice. It's deeper than that, it's about alignment. When your body language, your tone, and your inner self are all speaking the same language. That's when people feel it. They don't just hear what you say, they believe it. I've seen people walk into a room and instantly draw respect. They don't demand it, they don't flex, they don't need to prove anything. It's in how they walk. It's in how they look at you, level, calm, intentional. You can feel they know who they are, and I've seen others come in loud, needing to be noticed, needing to be liked. And you can feel the energy shift. That doesn't build respect, that signals insecurity, and people pick up on it, fast. So how do you pass the 5-second test? You start before you even enter the room, because those 5 seconds don't begin when someone sees you. They begin the moment you decide who you're going to be. Are you rushing? Are you unsure? Are you already doubting yourself before the conversation starts? Or are you grounded? Are you walking in like your presence is enough, not in arrogance, but in certainty? It's the way you hold your eyes. The way you stand, not stiff, not slouched, but present. You don't have to puff up to be taken seriously. You just need to own the space you're in. People respect people who respect themselves, and that starts with how you show up before a word is spoken. Think about someone you respect deeply, not because of their title or their money, but because of how they move. Think about how they enter a room, how they make others feel seen, how they don't chase attention, it just comes to them. That's not magic, that's practice presence, that's someone who knows their value before anyone else affirms it, and you don't need a big personality to have that. Some of the most respected people are quiet, but their presence is loud. Why? Because they've got inner alignment. They've done the work, they're not faking calm, they are calm, they're not pretending to listen, they actually care. That's what real respect grows from. Authenticity backed by intention. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but what if I'm nervous? What if I mess it up in those 5 seconds? Let me tell you something, nerves don't ruin respect. Fake confidence does. People can feel nervousness, they'll still respect you if you're real, but if you cover it with arrogance or people-pleasing energy, that's when respect starts to fade. The goal isn't to impress, it's to be solid, be you, fully, and yeah, 5 seconds isn't long, but the great thing about 5 seconds is that it resets every time, every new room, every new meeting, every new conversation. You get another shot to bring presence with purpose. You get to decide, do I shrink, or do I stand in who I am? Respect isn't something you ask for. It's something people sense when you no longer need to, and that's the kind of energy that shifts a room. Not with force, not with noise, but with presence. So the next time you walk into that meeting, into that interview, into that conversation with someone who doesn't yet know your worth, remember, you're already taking the test. You've got 5 seconds, and how you show up in those 5 seconds can tell the whole story. Pause, breathe, then step in like you belong, because you do. You ever find yourself in a conversation where someone says something slick, crosses a line just a little, or throws some subtle disrespect your way, and your body instantly reacts. Your jaw tightens, your heart rate spikes, you feel the heat rising, and every part of you wants to clap back, cut them down, or prove your point right now. That's your survival response kicking in, and it's natural, but here's the thing, that first response you feel. That's the one they're expecting, that's the version of you they want to see, emotional, flustered, off balance, because when you react out of impulse, you give up control. And when you give up control, you give away power. That's why silence is one of the most underrated tools of self-respect. The 5-second pause, that's the difference between reacting and responding, and those 5 seconds, they're not about biting your tongue or backing down. They're about reclaiming your center, owning your space, choosing your next move with intention instead of emotion. It's wild how uncomfortable silence makes people. Especially in high-pressure moments, we feel like we have to fill the space, say something clever, defend ourselves right away. But that rush to react, it's where most people lose the game. Respect isn't built in how fast you come back. It's built in how steady you remain when everything around you is pushing for a reaction. Let's be real, some people test you on purpose. Not because they're bold, but because they're insecure. They want to see if they can poke at you, get under your skin, make you flinch. And the moment you take that bait, they know they've got you. But when you pause, when you meet their little jab with silence and stillness, it shifts everything. Because now they're uncomfortable, now they're wondering what you're thinking, what you'll say, how you'll move. That pause puts you back in control. I've been in rooms where someone tried to embarrass me with a joke, or put me on the spot with a loaded question. And I've learned this: the moment you give yourself 5 seconds, you don't just hear what they said. You hear why they said it. You hear the insecurity behind the insult. You hear the fear behind the ego. And suddenly, you're not reacting to their words, you're responding to the truth beneath it. Those 5 seconds aren't empty. They're full of clarity. They give you time to decide, is this worth my energy? Is this a fight or a trap? Does this deserve a response or silence? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Let the weight of the moment sit in the air. Let the other person feel it, not in a petty way, but in a way that says, I heard you. I'm just not moved by you. And when you do speak, after the pause, it lands different, because now your words are rooted. You're not defending, you're defining. You're not yelling to be heard, you're speaking to be understood, and that's what people respect. Not the noise, but the control, not the emotion, but the clarity. This doesn't mean you suppress how you feel. It means you protect it, you honor it enough not to hand it over to someone who hasn't earned it. Emotional discipline isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing your worth so well, you don't need to react to everything that challenges it. Some of the most confident people in the world say the least when tested, not because they're afraid, but because they're secure. Their silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It's a pause that speaks volumes, and that's what sets them apart. Now I know there will be moments when silence feels unnatural, when you're burning inside to say something, but I want you to remember this. If it has to be said, it can be said after 5 seconds. If it loses power in those 5 seconds, it probably didn't need to be said at all. 5 seconds can save you from saying something you regret. It can stop a conflict from exploding. It can shift the power dynamic without a single raised voice. And more importantly, it gives you the space to respect yourself before anyone else in the room decides how to treat you. So next time someone tries to shake you, test you, push you into a reaction, don't take the bait. Take a breath, take a beat, because your silence, that's not you backing down, that's you standing taller than ever. Have you ever had that feeling where someone says something to you, and for a second, you pause like, oh wait. Was that disrespect? But before you can even figure it out, the moment passes, you brush it off, laugh awkwardly, or keep the conversation going like nothing happened. And later, you replay it in your head over and over thinking, I should have said something. That right there, that little hesitation, that subtle moment when your gut told you something was off, that's the test. And most people miss it, because here's what you need to understand. People test your boundaries way before they outright cross them. It doesn't usually start with loud disrespect. It starts small, a backhanded comment, a dismissive look, a just joking, a kind of insult. A little overstep. It's not enough to start an argument, but just enough to see how you'll respond. That's the quiet way people check. Can I get away with this? And your response, or your silence, is the answer they run with. This is why catching subtle disrespect early matters, because by the time it gets loud or obvious, it's already been happening in smaller ways. You've already passed, or failed, the test a few times before you even realized there was one, and every time you let it slide, you train people how to treat you. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't about being defensive or walking around looking for disrespect in every corner. It's about paying attention. It's about listening to your body, that internal shift, that gut check that whispers, something's off here. Because your body usually knows before your brain does, the tension in your shoulders, that uncomfortable feeling in your chest, that slight raise of your eyebrow that you catch too late, those are your signs, and in that moment, you don't need to blow up or call someone out in front of everyone. You just need to hold your line. Sometimes that's as simple as asking a question. Oh, what did you mean by that? Let them explain themselves, because most of the time, when someone crosses a line and you calmly shine a light on it, they shrink. They didn't expect to get called on it. They were counting on you staying quiet, letting it slide, keeping it smooth. But here's where it gets powerful. When you respond with calm clarity instead of emotional chaos, you flip the script. You show people that you noticed, and that you're not afraid to acknowledge it, and you do it without losing your cool, without needing to dominate, just a simple, firm check. That changes how people move around you. This is why people who quietly respect themselves are often the most respected. Because their boundaries don't need a big announcement, they just exist, they're understood, they're felt. You ever see someone who doesn't even have to say much, but people just know not to try them? That's not fear, that's boundary. That's the silent reputation that builds when you consistently respond with strength in those small moments. When people know you don't let things slide, even the little things, they stop testing the bigger ones. And here's the truth a lot of people don't talk about. Disrespect usually doesn't come from strangers, it comes from people close to you. Friends, family, coworkers, people who feel too familiar. They joke, they prod, they test, and it gets blurry, because you love them, or work with them, or see them every day. But familiarity doesn't give anyone a free pass to disrespect you. So when someone says something out of line and laughs after like it's not a big deal, just because they followed it with, "I'm just playing," it doesn't mean it didn't land. You're allowed to say, "That didn't feel like a joke to me." You're allowed to not laugh. You're allowed to pause and make it awkward if needed, because sometimes discomfort is the only way people realize they crossed a line. The key is to train yourself to catch it in real time, and that starts with trusting your gut again. Trusting that if something doesn't sit right, it probably isn't right. Give yourself permission to pause. You don't owe anyone a smooth conversation at the cost of your self-respect. You're not being sensitive, you're being self-aware. You're not making a scene, you're drawing a line, because here's the bottom line. If you don't define your boundaries, someone else will, and they'll define them in a way that serves them, not you. So the next time someone throws that subtle jab, tests your patience, or slips in that slick comment, don't ignore it. Don't swallow it, name it, pause, check it calmly, because silence in the face of subtle disrespect, that's agreement. There's a moment before you speak, right before the words come out, where something powerful happens. That moment is a decision point. Are you about to speak from a place of strength, or from a place of needing to be accepted? That split-second choice makes all the difference between someone who earns respect and someone who gives their power away. Most people talk to be liked, to be agreeable, to not ruffle any feathers. They tell people what they think they want to hear, not what they need to say. And sure, on the surface, it keeps things smooth, it keeps the energy a positive, but underneath, there's this quiet frustration, this sense of being unheard, overlooked, or worse, disrespected. Not because they didn't speak up, but because they spoke with no weight behind it. You see, when you speak just to please, people can feel it. You're chasing approval instead of standing in truth, and people may smile, nod, or agree, but deep down, they don't respect it. Respect doesn't come from agreement, it comes from authenticity, from courage, from intention. Let me ask you something. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you shrunk yourself to keep the peace, like you had something important to say but didn't say it the way it needed to be said? That feeling, that regret, that pit in your stomach, that's what happens when your words come from insecurity instead of clarity. And I get it, most of us were taught to avoid confrontation. We learned early that if we just stay agreeable, we'll be safe. We'll be liked, but at what cost? Because if your voice is only showing up to keep other people comfortable, you'll end up uncomfortable in your own skin. That's not confidence, that's self-abandonment. The shift happens when you stop asking, will they like this, and start asking, is this true to me? When your words come from alignment instead of approval, they carry a different energy. You speak less, but people lean in more. You don't need to prove your point with volume or length. You make it with presence, with conviction, with clarity. And when that happens, respect follows. I'm not saying you need to be blunt or aggressive. This isn't about dominating conversations. It's about owning your truth without apologizing for it. There's a quiet power in that. You can disagree respectfully. You can challenge with kindness. You can hold the line with grace. But the key is that you're not speaking to gain something. You're speaking to stand in something. That's the difference. There's something magnetic about someone who speaks with purpose, not rehearsed, not dramatic, just real. You know it when you hear it. They don't talk over people. They don't chase the spotlight. But when they speak, everyone listens. Why? Because they're not performing, they're not playing a role, they're just rooted. That's what people respond to. And look, this doesn't mean you won't feel nervous or uncertain at times. It doesn't mean you won't second guess yourself. We all do, but even in those moments, you can ask yourself, am I speaking from fear or from foundation? That one question will realign you every time. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simple, I see it differently. That doesn't sit right with me. Here's what I believe. You don't need to over-explain or defend every word. Your presence will do the heavy lifting if it's coming from a grounded place, and yes, not everyone will like it. Some people are used to you being agreeable. Some people are used to you softening your message to make them comfortable. When you stop doing that, it'll shake things up. But that's okay, because if someone only respects you when you silence your truth, that's not real respect. That's convenience, and you weren't born to be convenient. You were born to be clear. It's not about being louder. It's about being anchored. Speak because it matters, not because you want to matter to them. Speak because it's true, not because you're afraid of being left out. The right people won't just hear you, they'll respect you for it. So next time you feel the urge to say something, check yourself. Are you speaking to connect with who you are, or to please who they want you to be? Because real respect doesn't come when you try to impress. It comes when you refuse to perform. You ever catch yourself wondering why certain people just naturally command respect? Like they walk into a room and no one even knows their name yet, but people look their way. They speak, and the room doesn't just hear them, people listen, and the crazy part, it's not because they're loud. It's not because they're flashy, it's not even because of what they're saying, it's because of how they carry themselves. It's who they are when no one's watching. See, a lot of people spend so much time trying to get others to respect them, but they've never stopped to ask the real question. Do I respect myself first? You can't fake that. You can fake confidence, you can fake charm, you can fake being nice. But you can't fake self-respect, because self-respect shows up in your energy before it ever shows up in your words. It's in how you walk into a room, it's in the way you hold your posture, it's in how you look people in the eye, or how you don't. And what's wild is, people pick up on it instantly. We may not always know what we're sensing, but we can feel when someone is secure in who they are, and when someone isn't. That's why I say the 5-second respect test doesn't really start with other people, it starts with you. You are the first person who has to pass it. Before anyone else gives you their attention, their respect, their time, you're giving them a silent message about how you see yourself. And they're just following your lead. Think about it like this. When you look in the mirror before you leave the house, not just to fix your hair or straighten your collar, but to check in with yourself, what do you see? Someone who's grounded, someone who knows their worth, or someone who's already questioning whether they're enough before they even open the door. You can't carry what you don't believe. If you don't believe you're worthy of respect, it shows. If you're constantly seeking validation, approval, applause, it shows. And not because you're saying it out loud, but because the energy of insecurity always leaks through. That's why self-respect isn't optional. It's foundational. People often ask, how do I make others take me seriously? But the better question is, do I take me seriously? Because how you treat yourself sets the tone. If you keep breaking your own boundaries, talking down to yourself, tolerating things that chip away at your value, don't be surprised when others start doing the same. You've trained them by the way you treat you. You can't expect the world to respect what you don't honor within yourself. That's not on them, that's on you. And the good news, that's something you can control. You may not control how others see you, but you absolutely control the standard you set for yourself. When you start showing up like someone who values their time, their energy, their voice, everything shifts. You speak differently. You move differently. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing people. You stop shrinking in rooms where you used to feel small. And not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you're finally at peace with who you are. That kind of self-respect doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you stable. It makes you trustworthy. People respect what is solid, what doesn't wobble with every opinion in the room. And when you show up anchored in yourself, people adjust. They rise to meet your standard, or they fall away. But either way, you're not chasing anymore, you're choosing. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never having doubts or insecurities. It's about what you do with them. Do you let them run the show, or do you notice them, breathe through them, and choose to walk in your worth anyway? Because the truth is, we all have moments where we question ourselves, but self-respect isn't about never feeling small. It's about refusing to stay small. It's about standing back up when you've been knocked down and saying, even now, I still choose to believe in me. And let me tell you, when that belief is real, when it's rooted, it speaks louder than anything you could say. You won't have to beg for respect. You won't have to raise your voice. You'll simply walk in the room, and people will feel it. So if you really want to pass the 5-second respect test, don't start with the world, start with the mirror. Because once you respect yourself deeply, fully, unapologetically, everyone else just follows your lead. Starting today, stop waiting for the world to respect you. Start showing it how. Walk in with intention, speak with purpose, hold your boundaries without apology, because the 5-second test isn't just a moment, it's your message. And every time you show up, you're either teaching people to take you seriously or not. So make the decision, show up like you've already earned the respect you're looking for.